So I'm going to talk about how to keep your aquariums crystal clear. These are my 5 tips on keeping really clear water in your fish tank. First is going to be probably the most important, and that's going to be water change. Now we're going to talk about keeping these clear after the nitrogen cycle has already passed, because when you go through the nitrogen cycle, you're going to get bacteria bloom. So that's going to be a whole different video, but this is after your aquarium has been cycled and is set and you have fish already in them. Whenever I do water changes, I use a gravel vac and a water pump. Whenever I just had the 55 gallon, I would just use a gravel vac, a siphon hose, and just a 5 gallon bucket. And of course it was okay, but it does get tiresome and it gets really old fast. Now that I have a second and a third aquarium, I started using a water pump. It saves a lot of time, energy, but I still do gravel vac whenever I do the water change. And that's actually number 2 is gravel vac. So number 1, number 2 kind of go hand in hand, water change and gravel vac. Whenever I do a water change, I do it once a week or sometimes even 3 to 4 days, depending on my water parameters. If my nitrates are a little bit over 30 or 40 parts per million, I'm on top of it. That's whenever I do about a 75 to 80, sometimes even a 90% water change. Now that's a whole different video. We could get into that later. Of course, the vacuum is also a must, because the waste from the fish, also uneaten food, detritus, whatever junk that falls on the floor, a lot of that can be moved around, especially if you have good filtration and current in your aquarium, and that, it could just kind of be blown around and also make your aquarium very cloudy. So doing a water change and gravel vac, always do those hand in hand. Sometimes if I don't do a water change within a week, I'll go ahead and just kind of do about 10 gallons worth of vacuuming on each tank, and that helps out as well. But always make sure you watch your water parameters. So if your nitrates are a little too high, go ahead and do a water change, even if it's only been 2 days or 3 days since you've done your last water change. Very important to make sure you watch your water parameters. My third tip to having crystal clear water is having good filtration, having more than enough filtration. You've probably heard in videos, you cannot overdo it with filtration. So what I have here is, on my 75 gallon tank, I have 2 hang on the back filters, and on my 55 I also have 2 hang on the back filters with a couple of sponge filters, and on the back I have a hang on and I have a couple of sponge filters for the 20 gallon. It's been pretty good. It's been working out so far. Of course, you got better filtration like canister filters. Some people love those. If I could afford a good canister filters for both of these, I would definitely get. Well, maybe down the line I will. But so far the hang on the back filters work perfectly. Now, if you do not maintain your filters, then you could have a chance where you will have a cloudy or a milky looking tank. Your sponges, make sure they're clean. Don't rinse them out with tap water. Use your aquarium water to clean any of the debris that's captured by the filter. Now, you don't want to clean your biomedia. If you have biomedia, do not clean that, because that's good bacteria that you want in your tank. And of course, your sponges as well are going to have that good bacteria that we want. So that's why we say do not use tap water to clean your sponges. Use your aquarium water. Also, you want to make sure that all of your filters are working properly. Make sure that you have the right amount of flow. Sometimes if your filter has a flow knob, which you could increase or decrease the flow of water, that can also trigger your water to be more cloudy than usual. So if you could raise it up, a lot of times that can help, but then again, that would mean that your filters or your sponges could get dirty even faster. So that means that you would have to be on top of cleaning all of your filters or your sponges when you have your filters cranked up. Number 4 is make sure that when you add decor, whether they're plants, whether they're hides, whether they're decorations, or even substrate, make sure that you rinse out any of these before you put into the aquarium. The substrate, whether it's gravel or sand, a lot of times you definitely would have to rinse out before you add it onto your aquarium, because if you don't, more than likely you're gonna have the sand kind of just blowing everywhere, and you'd have to wait a long time for it to subdue and go down, and then every time you do a water change, you're gonna have that same problem. So before you put anything into the aquarium, rinse it out really good, especially if it's gravel or sand. It's gonna take a long time to do it. If you're gonna use sand, use a pool filter sand. That's what I have in these aquariums, is pool filter sand, and it's really easy to clean. It doesn't take too long. I did try the play sand that's over at Home Depot. You know what? It was a fail. Before I even put it in the aquarium, I tried, I don't know, like almost an hour just trying to clean about a quarter of a half a gallon bucket of sand. I was swishing it around and it wouldn't clear up. So I do not recommend play sand from Home Depot. The pool sand that I use is it's a big chain company called Leslie's Pool. I think it was like 14, 15 bucks for a 50-pound bag, and it works perfectly. So I would recommend using pool filter sand. I haven't tried the pool filter sand from Lowe's or Home Depot. I know it's a little bit more cheaper, but for 10 bucks more, I would definitely go to a pool supply and get your bags of sand there. Number 5, and this is chemical for clarifying your water, and there is a water clarifier out there. There's many brands out there. I've used it in the past. I don't use it as much. I don't need to use it. Now, whenever I first started, I wasn't patient enough to, whenever I was going through the cycle, to let it just do its thing. But I did put some water clarifier drops in my aquarium, and I didn't really see a big difference, but it is safe on the fish. I know a lot of people out there in the hobby don't like to use any chemicals to clarify their water, and you know, that's their prerogative, but I've used it in my tanks and I've had no problem with the fish. You know, if you need to use it, I guess go ahead. Just make sure you read the label in the back. Me, I've never had a problem with it. It did kind of work, not really notice a big difference, but it didn't hurt my fish at all. Here's another bonus tip. Do not overfeed your fish. You overfeed your fish, you're gonna get fish waste all over the place. That's definitely gonna make your ammonia spike up. That's definitely gonna bring up your nitrates, and that's definitely gonna make your water milky and very cloudy. So do not overfeed your fish. Being a new guy in the hobby, that was my mistake, is I overfed the fish. I gave them breakfast, I gave them lunch, gave them dinner, and I gave them snacks in between. And that was a big no-no. And I found out the hard way, because they were pooping all over the place, and it definitely made my water very dirty. And if you want to do vacuums and water changes every day, I guess you could do that, but it does get expensive and it does take a lot of time. So keep your feeding your fish down to a minimum, and you'll definitely see a change there. Like I mentioned, guys, if you have any tips that we didn't discuss, please let everybody know in the comments. Share with everybody, that way everybody in the community can learn. And also, I'm here to learn from y'all. So thank you for watching my video, and we'll see y'all guys on the next one. Thank you.